You know what episode this is?
33.
You sure? I'm feeling it. If you're feeling it, I'm feeling it.
Yeah. Hello, Internet. I'm Dan.
And I'm Chaz, and this is Wine is Serious Business, episode 233.
Getting up there.
Yeah, we're getting up there. We've got more wine to drink on the show and talk about with you guys. And these are our samples we got from Eyrie, right?
Yep, with the exception of one. Two samples. One bottle I purchased myself because I enjoyed it so much when I was in the tasting room. So thanks again to Paloma. We're spreading the samples out amongst a couple of shows, but that's just how it fell together. And pre-tasted all of these, so we know they're not corked. For those of you who aren't that familiar with them, Eyrie's, just one of the original plantings in Oregon.
Well, they're the first people to plant Pinot Noir vines in the Willamette Valley, right?
Yeah,
So.
and the first Pinot Gris, perhaps in the New World. Like, they aren't sure about that, but they're also not sure that that's not true. Like, they could be. At any rate, very old. Definitely the first Pinot Gris in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So some cool history. They for a long time have been in this tiny group of wineries that I think have always been willing to make decisions to make wines that will have a lot of longevity and will age really well, even at the expense of how they taste on release.
That's true.
And there aren't a whole lot of wineries that'll do that, and I've just kind of learned this over time and tasting some of their older wines and seeing how their wines evolve, that they've really got their sights trained on what the wines can become. That said, we're tasting all fairly current release stuff now.
We are, and all 12s actually, which is really convenient for this show.
Yeah, really convenient for you, for sure.
Yeah, I like 2012 so far. I've been really excited by it. I mean, at least for Pinot Noir. I haven't had enough experience with the whites, so I'm excited to try this show out. Yeah.
In this first wine, we had a little bit of question over whether this is the current release or not. Most people are releasing their 2013 Pinot Gris, and I'll admit I bought this a few months ago. But this was one of the samples we got, so this is 2012, also a current release, so it can't be that far behind.
I might be wrong.
It can't be that far behind. But this one I picked up because I enjoyed in the tasting room, wanted to bring on the show.
Yeah. So this is the 2012 just Willamette Valley Pinot Gris. Grown in the Dundee Hills.
Yeah,
Pinot
there we
Gris.
go.
Sorry, I apologize. But have had really good experiences with this wine in the past, right? I mean, it's been a track record of being one of the better Pinot Gris in the.
And I don't throw that around. I'll even say, all right, I generally don't like Pinot Gris, right? Every once in a while, people kind of break through that, make some wines that kind of are above the general standard, but we've got to overcome a little bit of prejudice, to begin with. So.
I like Pinot Gris. My sights are pretty open to it. I think people are experimenting with it enough now. It's not just, I kept 500 gallons in a tank, a steel tank, and then I bottled it, right? Like, it's not that way anymore. People are sort of like really experimenting with the oak, really experimenting with what they age it in. And then experimenting with skin contact too, which really excites me. So yeah. I think Pinot Gris is a good place here in Oregon. Anyway, on to the wine.
On to the wine. Great nose coming out of this right away. I'm getting a lot of really ripe pears, kind of some pear skins, and even spicy pear skins. Maybe a little bit like star anise or something like that. Like, definitely kind of some interesting spice. Maybe a little clove.
My nose isn't working today. For me, it's largely just like lemony characteristics I'm getting out of it, right? But I noticed this. I had a little bit of wine earlier today, and noticed that my nose just isn't on fire. My palate's doing fine, but my nose is just not working. So.
Cool. Well, I do get some lemons too, but I think good complexity, good intensity on the nose.
There's like a little bit of a creaminess to it almost too. I mean, it's like a waxiness to it or something. It's there's something there behind the lemons that isn't just like lemon and nothing else, right? There's definitely more going on there. I just can't get it right now. So. That's good wine.
Yeah.
And the texture is awesome, right? That's
good full feeling on the palate. I'm guessing before I look, this might be a little higher alcohol than usual in a way that works for both of us. It's got to be on here somewhere, right?
Let's look back at it.
12.5. So yeah, that's
just acid.
Yeah, that's right on. And just that roundness that must be coming, just from the skins, just really solid fruit. I guess like with everything in 2012, people could let stuff get exactly as ripe as they wanted it, and I think that I agree that the mouthfeel here is really full, and there's still a good sense of acidity that keeps things nice and crisp, and I think that that spicy note really keeps things a little sharp in there too. Kind of breaks up that really rich, big mouthfeel.
I do see some of the spiciness you were talking about earlier, but it's like almost got the sort of, almost like a caramelized fruit flavor to it or something. I don't know.
That.
Like it's there's something there that's really providing a lot of weight and like a blanketing. Like
Maybe
the
a touch of
flavors.
RS. Maybe there's a little bit of that.
Maybe just a touch, yeah. But it reminds me almost like just like a cooked pineapple or something.
Yes. Yes. There we
really,
go. Yeah.
really delicious, rich, almost rich flavors, but really good acid rounding it all out that keeps it fresh on the finish. And the intensity lasts for a long time. The mid-palate length on this is awesome.
It's true.
When you're talking about Pinot Gris, like this is a $20 bottle of wine, right? Like 20,
something like that.
23,
under,
24.
I'd say, yeah.
It's somewhere around 20 bucks, but
I think
it
it's
absolutely kills it for Oregon Pinot at this price point.
Totally.
Or Pinot Gris at
Pinot
this
Gris.
price point.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And now that as we're talking about it, just the descriptors I'm using, I'm guessing there is a bit of RS in here. I wouldn't describe it as a sweet wine,
No.
but the way that it sits on the palate makes me think that there's some in there. But I dig that, and for what that's worth, I think it's really well used. Whatever the decision was there, I think was the right one.
yeah. Very excited about it. Really delicious, actually quite complex for Oregon Pinot Gris. 88 plus 89 points, right?
I know you,
borderline.
man. I'm right. I'm right in there too. I'm going to stick with
Borderline
88.
terribly exciting, but I sort of expect that from this wine at this point. Like I've had a lot of good ones from this producer, and this one kills it as well.
And this sees a lot of distribution too, so I know those of you out on the East Coast, those of you in other parts of the country, you've got a chance of picking this up on local shelves.
Yeah.
This stuff, probably not so much.
Yeah. This will be a bit of work. You'll have to call the winery and actually order some of this, likely, unless you end up at like a winemaker dinner or something.
Yeah. Or if you come out to Oregon and drink wine sometime. Boy, if any of you guys are big fans, been watching us for a while, right? If you ever make it out this way, come
Let
and
us
check out
know.
wines, totally send us an email. At the very least, we can get a drink together in the city. Yeah, we'd love to do it.
Or better.
Yeah,
So,
maybe better. You never know. Definitely send us an email. We'd love to hear it.
absolutely.
And
So,
certainly, at the very least, too, like recommendations on where to go if you're visiting. Get in touch. We'd love to talk
we
about
help you out. There's so much going on in the city right now. Like even for not like, if you love beer, if you love spirits, you know the alcohol scene in Portland is just crazy right now. So
Yeah.
you should come here. You should drink.
Good stuff.
So we're moving on to the 2012 Original Vines Pinot Gris, and this is the oldest vine Pinot Gris in the state, right?
Yeah, and we were just talking about that. So that original planting, they kept they made a wine just with those vines, which I think is a great thing to do because that is
Yeah.
a really unique resource that they've got. Some really unique fruit, and if they're getting enough fruit out of it to make a wine, I think that's a really cool chance to, you know, to show their terroir, right? Show a little bit of their history in a bottle. I know last year it was unsulfured even, so I'm going to guess that that's the case again this year. Yeah, there's no real history on the.
They've chosen
on the
to
back.
retain the natural crystals which will form in the bottle when this wine is chilled.
Yep.
And there were crystals all over the cork. So,
Yep.
yeah.
If you're watching this show, you probably know. Just in case you don't, crystals on the cork, crystals in the bottom of the bottle, not a problem.
No,
It's just
ring around them.
Yeah, it's just natural.
And if you get them in your mouth, it's not a big deal.
Not a big deal. Nothing wrong with it. Also, crazy aromatics on this
Now,
one
see,
too,
I can
man.
smell this wine. This is a completely different wine than the other one.
A little bit of pear. This is like a little bit of the spice is more like ginger to me, and there's like a vanilla thing that's like
Yeah?
really providing richness to the nose, I think, too.
But a fresher nose, like it's got almost like some squeezed kiwi or lime or something
Yeah,
over the top
yeah.
of all those flavors you just talked about, which I totally get. It's like, it's very strong. The aromas in the nose are very strong, and they're awesome. Yeah?
It's cool.
Feel
There's a
like-
lot going on there.
Wow.
Good spot, man. A little more spicy, I think. I'm getting more spice out of this one than that one. I'm going to go with the ginger again. Maybe just a little bit of clove.
You know what this reminds me of? Those what's the kind of orange? It's like the cuties.
Sure.
What are they?
Clementines.
Clementines. Yeah, yeah. That style of orange, like it's strong on the mouth for me. And I agree with sort of the spiciness and maybe there's like good richness here. There's a lot of things going on, but it's like very, very fresh with that orange. I wouldn't call it oranges outright. It's like almost a little touch sour as it enters the finish. I don't know. It's
And I'm getting a little more richness light too. I'm getting like this little peak of like rich peach flavors that show on the way back end, kind of as the spices are fading out.
killer acid too.
Great complexity, great hang time. Honestly, these two wines are kind of like breaking territory. I'm gonna push this up to 89 points. Breaking territory for me with Pinot Gris, in my experience. Even I haven't drank a whole lot of it worldwide, but Alsatian stuff, whatever. Like these two bottles are really nice.
And I think, whereas I think their last bottle. So I will say this because I know a lot of people that maybe some people that do watch the show have had the original, the first original vines.
Yep.
This is different than that one.
Totally, yes.
Completely different.
But it's 2011, 2012, right?
Right. That's a really great point. The fruit characteristics here are definitely more forward. They're more punchy. There's anyone would love this wine, in my opinion. Like the fruit characteristics here are just awesome.
It's interesting.
Yeah, and it's got a lot of complexity for the geekiness factor. I mean, it's yeah.
It's got a good sense of like a little bit of minerality. There's a lot going on.
Yeah. 91 plus for me, on par with the best Pinot Gris I've had in the state.
Nice.
I went 92 one time on a Druskal, or 93 on a Druskal from Johan, which we need to do sometime.
Yeah.
But this is up there. This is really, really good.
Yeah, 90
Really
points
delicious.
for me too. Honestly, like the spice even gets a little edging into the bitterness on the end for me.
I like that.
Well, yeah, so you're
I like
feeling
it.
that even makes your excitement make more sense. So for me, it's a little bit of a detractor, but the complexity that it provides and the fact that it like keeps me thinking about it, and that it never, like, I think when bitterness is a real problem, it'll like overwhelm the other flavors at the end.
Right.
And here it still just plays along with it. Other stuff's going on in the background. There's still a lot of complexity.
That and the acid provide really good balance,
Oh,
right? Like, and
yeah.
so help lengthen it. Anyway.
Yeah, rock solid wines.
Killer
Thanks
juice.
so much for sending this our way.
All right, so last wine, getting into Pinots. Oh yeah, 2012 Oregon Pinot from.
Eyrie Vineyards. Yeah.
Yeah.
State,
But, no, this is
state fruit, right?
grown in the Willamette Valley, not grown in the
Willamette
Dundee
Valley.
Hills. This is the
Oh,
Willamette Valley
sorry,
bottle.
okay.
So that's what I was looking for.
There you go. No
Yeah.
problem. So they're entry-level Pinot Noir. They make quite a range of them, and big respect for Jason over the years for this. He's definitely been trying a lot of new things. Right, there've been a lot of different bottlings. Every time I talk to anybody about Eyrie, there's always, or go visit, there's always like something interesting going on, which is really fun. Right, they've got such great material to work with. It's really cool to see all the different incarnations that fruit can take and that facility can produce.
Right. I haven't been out there enough. I just haven't. I haven't seen the facility. I am.
Okay.
I mean, I've been out. Well, actually, what I was saying, I've been out there one time when I was a club member. Anyway.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh man, so fine. We're gonna. I was gonna hold this till later, but we'll do it now. If you're ever out tasting in the valley, I consider Eyrie to be one of the must-hit stops. If
It's
you're
true.
visiting, you're making a huge mistake if you don't go, because they consistently have old bottles open, and they were making wines that could age decades ago. Which A, that's a feat to begin with. B, having a chance to try them, really at any price. The price is reasonable, I think, but at any price, to be able to taste wines like that on a single visit is
true.
a great opportunity, both educational, both for your palate, and it's a lot of fun. The folks there are nice, so I'll stand by that. It really is one of the must-hit tasting rooms if you're visiting the area, I think.
I do remember showing up there. So I showed up there on an event weekend. They had a 70, an 80, a 90, and an 80, 90, a 2000, and a 2010 open.
Right.
So 40 years of Pinot.
And of the
Bam.
places in the world that can
Awesome.
do that, how many do?
Yeah.
Right? Like I can't think of one other one.
And as a
So,
club member, I got to taste it all for free.
yeah. So
Awesome.
it's amazing. So if you're visiting, go do it. If you live locally and you haven't checked them out, make a point of going.
You should.
Yeah. Good stuff.
All right. So the 2012, pretty much the base one.
Shout out to Ed too, who works in the tasting room a lot. Cool guy. Always treats me well. It's nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, it smells good.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not as fruit driven in the nose as I would expect for 2012. A lot of the 12s have been like very punchy and forward with their fruit. Like this is rose,
Black earth,
rose
yeah.
petals, like dried floral. First thing that stick out to me, but then cherries and
I like the rose petals. I'm getting more black earth, I think, than the flower stuff. Maybe a little bit of citrus peel. A little bit of citrus peel.
Let's see that. It just reminds me of being in Mom's backyard. So a little bit of that. So.
Your mom grow a lot of flowers?
She does.
Nice. Is she gonna watch this show?
She probably won't watch the show, but I can also send her a message and be like,
Yeah. Talked about you.
talked about you on the most recent show. Love you, Mom.
Thanks.
All right. That's quite good.
Yeah.
Definitely more fruit driven than the nose lets on. Like I would agree with some of the earthiness that you had said on, but like it's definitely more like it was just reminding me of like dried floral, dried roses, whatever. The palate is largely just ripe, or not ripe fruit, but fruit and I don't know. Sorry.
It's more straightforward, I think.
Lost my train of thought. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting like a bit of cherries, like some of that citrus peel that I was talking about on the nose. I think comes through on the palate, and the acidity definitely contributes to the drying on the finish, more than tannins do. I'm getting a little bit of that minerality, but that that citrus peel flavor kind of lingers.
I agree.
Keeps the fruit tart. Like,
There's
you know
some
what?
tartness on the finish.
I
That's actually quite
totally
nice.
agree. Yeah, like, and this is definitely more on the tart, like austere side than a few of the 12s that we've had so far, right?
Agreed.
And I think in a blind tasting, right, you get a little more like, oh, I don't know. And also with the young ones, there's been more tannic character on the early 2012s we've had.
Agreed.
And I would not describe this as a tannic wine, right? The tannins are present, but
Present, but nowhere grippy.
Yeah.
The acid is definitely dialed up. Like there's good acid to provide the fruit enough lift, and like it doesn't seem cloying or like heavy at all. But the tannins are definitely resolved and like just sort of are just there a little bit. But there's no grittiness or drying effect from them. But that said, it has a sense of balance because of the way the fruit is and the way the acid is. It's actually a very well built wine.
yeah.
And it doesn't sort of need the tannic character to really.
And instead of swishing it around, I'd say just take that sip and just put it down, just swallow it right away. I think when I did that the fruit comes more to the foreground, and I get a little more of those cherry flavors that when I wash it around, I think the acidity kind of started to overwhelm a little bit.
Agreed.
But the fruit has I don't know, for whatever reason, I think some wines work differently that way. But quick sips, the fruit comes out a little more.
I agree.
A little more straightforward, I think. Not as much complexity going on as these, but they're right. Like we said, this is their entry level. They make a number of tiers above this, so
Yeah.
I think that's more in line with kind of that's the point for this wine. Kind of a straightforward, nice Pinot Noir.
But in that, it's delicious. Like
Yeah.
it does provide good characteristics. I mean, or good Oregon terroir a little bit, right? Like it's definitely in line with what you expect from this producer and from this region. And if you like acid, like this is drinking great now. But I would honestly sit on this for a year or so. Let it sort itself out just a little bit.
It's true with Eyrie. I'm never shy about letting the Pinot Noirs sit.
Yeah, you should never worry about them. But,
Yeah, it's so much so that I have a hard time drinking them. Like I buy them and I'm like, oh, this would be good now. Like, or I could wait another 10 years. It'd be so much cooler to drink this in 10 years.
it's true.
So 88 points. I'll go with, like I said, a little less excitement than the Pinot Gris, but
Yeah.
still feeling good about it. Solid entry level wine, and look forward to trying some of the other bottles too.
I was gonna go 87 on this. I mean, it's sort of just where it's at. I don't know. It's delicious, entry level, good Pinot, but yeah, I like it.
Yeah, solid stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Question of the day.
I hadn't even
To
thought
wrap
of
up
it.
this show.
Yeah.
I hadn't either. I guess we'll be back in a moment.
You ever had your car stolen? With wine?
Yeah, we can do that. That's a good one,
That's
actually.
not a bad one.
Yeah. So my girlfriend had her car stolen a couple weeks ago.
Sucks.
Yeah, just terrible. A Honda, right? So everybody goes, oh, of course,
Yeah.
right? When you hear about that, she just got it back today. Went down to the lot, picked it up. Looks like it's going to be able to
Salvageable.
put it back together.
Yeah.
Crazy thing about it, all the tires were removed and they put 4 donuts back on. So they
so
they
weird.
picked it up with 4 donuts on it. I've never heard of. Have you ever heard of that done before?
The donuts. Yeah.
You've heard of it, okay.
Also, when Jesse's car got stolen, same
Yeah.
thing. It ended up
Oh,
in an
4
apartment
months.
complex. But it was stripped, like no engine, no, and like a driver's seat, and then it had 4 donuts.
Wow, okay. So I guess it's not completely unheard of, but
No.
have you ever had your car stolen? Tell us a story.
Tell
in
us
the
a
comments.
story.
A couple people watch the show. If you tell a good story, people respond to it. They see that. Shout outs again to some of our oldest fans. Man, John Moser, Terry Guide, keep coming through with the likes and comments. You guys are great. It's been years, and you're still following us. I
Appreciate
really
it.
appreciate
Yeah.
that. So, cheers, everybody. We'll
Can't
see you
wait.
next week.
Can't wait until John Moser makes it out here.
Come out. Get you drunk. Word.
See you guys next time.